Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. Okay, let's dive straight into it. Last week we, aired this particular subject matter, talking about local councils' autonomy that the Supreme Court handed to the autonomy that Supreme Court handed to the local governments. Now they have financial autonomy. It hasn't been the case. They've been laboring, shall we say, under the yoke of the heavy-handedness of state governments up and down the land. There's a joint account. Apparently, they've been able to manipulate this. And so the local councils have not had the financial autonomy that they desired. And we've seen that it wasn't a matter of asking them nicely and that they would then comply and do the right thing, the legal thing. But now the Supreme Court has spoken on the matter, has pronounced upon the matter, and some governors have said, I was a bit curious when I saw that expression, that they take the decision of the Supreme Court in good faith. This was a matter that was taken to the Supreme Court by the Attorney General of the Federation. It's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu initiative. Okay, our guest this morning is an expert in such matters, Dr. Daniel Bwala. He's a lawyer and he's a policy analyst. He's UK-based, and so we're glad to have you. Good morning. Thank you for making time for us.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Yori. Good morning, and thank you to your viewers.
Indeed. Okay. Well, over in the UK, as I said, we aired this subject last week, but there's been so much commentary on it, and it is continuing. And I'm happy that our people in the diaspora are weighing in on the subject as well. How do you feel about it? I imagine that the local councils feel great about it, but there are those who have said that, yeah, it sounds good, but there are other aspects of the Constitution that need to be addressed for this to come to its full level of desirability. I don't know, as a lawyer yourself, no doubt familiar with the Nigerian Constitution, what would be your general commentary on the happy event for local government councils? Right.
So good morning, and thank you for having me.
Our pleasure.
I think those who have contrary view are in the minority because I've been observing since the decision of the Supreme Court, there is no part of Nigeria and all sector of Nigeria that people are not showing their excitement. For example, I have seen majority of lawyers in Nigeria welcome the idea. Opposition welcome the idea. People from the marketplace welcome the idea. And people at the local government level, in fact, are the overjoyous one. And the local government is 774. So it has no connection to a particular section of the country. It's all over Nigeria. I even saw people from the southeast Nigeria were singing the song of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So in a nutshell, it's a welcome development because of what where we're coming from and what we have suffered as a result of state government controlling the local council. Like 21 states of the Federation, they still have caretaker council because the governors want to control the local government, but that is not the import of the Constitution. That's not the provision of the Constitution. If you look at Section 2, you look at Section 7, in part of the Constitution makes it clear a democratically elected local government council is guaranteed. When you see the word guaranteed in the Constitution, it's a connotation. It's not just like the human rights that everybody is entitled to. Then, of course, if you go to the fourth schedule to the Constitution, you have an understanding of what the local government is all about, because it is not just an administration where you have the local government chairman and there may be public servants only. If you look at the fourth schedule, in fact, if you look at the fourth schedule, the functionality of the local council is even much more than the activities in the state, because government is at the level of the local council. They say all politics is local. Take, for example, they take care of participating with the state government in shaping economic policy, shaping educational policy, participating in even healthcare services. They also determine, for example, rate, chieftaincy rate, construction of road, maintenance of names of roads, traditional title, graveyards. All of these things are matters within the precincts of the local government administration. So For President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to take that bold step and approach the court so we can have a guaranteed, democratically elected local government council, I think is one of the biggest achievements of his administration. And that deepens democracy. That's what I want to say in a general sense.
Okay. Now, one of the questions that we sort of explored the last time we spoke about this was the quality of the personnel. Over the decades, the local councils have been what they have been. Controversially, I said that they appeared like the poor cousins or the poorer cousins of the governance family. There are 3 tiers of government, and I think the Supreme Court ruled that no one is necessarily superior to the other. They are separate. But through the years, I wonder if it is your impression that it has impacted on people that are vying for office therein, simply because it's been seen as, well, after the federal, then you come to the state, and then the third tier, in quote-unquote junior tier, would be local councils, contrary to what you've just explained, and which indeed is the right aspect with which to look at local councils. So I wonder, do you think, as it is, we have the kind of personnel to run affairs therein, or will that be something that will be developed going forward, where people that before now thought that I can't do anything less than federal or less than state. Now you can have caliber and timber people, as we say locally, working in the local councils, vying for office in the local councils.
Well, the reason for the failure of the local government over the years to deliver on the promise of good governance at the local level is not far-fetched. It's because of the method or the system by which the local government chairman, or caretaker in this case, are produced. Because since 1999, after this Association of Local Government ceded their authority to the states, and the states took over, governors started appointing caretaker. You can imagine that the caretaker chairman, for example, in those cases, they would only go there to carry out the wishes of the governor. So you're not likely to hear focus on road, focus on primary health care, do this, because all of these areas of governance are areas where you need to spend. And because the governors do not want to spend, they want to siphon the money of the local government allegedly, the local government chairmen do not have the freedom and the independence to deliver on the promise. That's one. Number two, because the emergence of those chairmen or council, as the case may be, caretaker council, as the case may be, was done by the governor by mere imposition. So sometimes his SA or his PA, who may not have connection to do with the grassroots, who is not known at the local level, but somebody who has been with the governor, is now imposed on that local government. So he does not have idea of what the problems of the locality, and is not even interested in knowing that, because in the first place there is a disconnect. So because of that, over the years, the needs of the local government have not been taken care of, and we have seen the abuse of the local government system. The second part, which will lead to another angle of argument that I will talk to you about, is that for those ones that purportedly have what they call a democratically elected local government chairman, the other hurdle that they have is that the process by which they emerge is conducted by the State Electoral Commission. The State Electoral Commission, if you see the words of the Supreme Court, and even the Attorney General reiterated, it is like a stage play, like a role play, like a simulation. What looked like we conducted the election, but in actual fact, it is coronation of the choices of the governor. So there is no viable opposition. And it is like the coloration of the same appointment of chairman. So rather than you say, I appoint caretaker chairman, you now say, let us have a drama in which this caretaker chairman that I want will now come and pass through. So that is why we have a problem with local government administration in Nigeria. But there is an argument that if INEC, which is the national body, can intervene in the conduct of elections at the local level for the emergence of council chairmen, then we are likely to see the semblance of real competition. We are likely to see the emergence of those who have canvassed for the vote or who have a vision that may not be under the the stooge or the pupillage or the control of the governor. And then when you have competition generally in life, that is when every competitor will try to do better because the masses will have options. It's just like in free market economy, where there is competition, you have good delivery of services and quality product, because if you don't provide good quality product and good services, somebody will switch to the other. But the absence of it is what brings about this imposition, which is the reason why there is no effectiveness and there is no real governance at the local level, which the governors are now using against the local government chairman.
Just as you said, everybody, almost, just about everybody, sees this as a positive thing, a good thing. Everybody is celebrating it and commending the federal government, the Attorney General, the President, for the initiative. But to return to the minority of naysayers, as a man of the law yourself, just what is it that they were talking about when they say that there are aspects of the Constitution that also need to be addressed in relation to seeing this to fruition?
So the argument that I have heard legal luminaries have canvassed is Section 2 of the Constitution of Nigeria, which to them says that the system of government in Nigeria is that you have the states and then you have the federal capital territory. So they make the case and the argument that since in the Constitution it says you have the state and the federal capital, it means that the local government is under the control and usurpation of the state governors, and that if the federal government is intervening in bringing autonomy to the local government, it amounts to infringing on the rights of the governors and thereby abusing the true federalism. Now, I hold a different view, and I also believe that that argument is misplaced. The reason is because in the rules of interpretation, even the Supreme Court has held in plethora of cases there are interpretation given where the sections of statutes or the law are not very clear. So, for example, if one part of the Constitution is trafficating right and the other part is trafficating left, then in order to give the true meaning of what it means, you have to apply what we call conjunctive interpretation. You are reading this one in conjunction with the other in order to arrive at a direction. So those who argue in isolation, looking at Section 2, they are making an argument that we call disjunctive argument. They are separating Chapter 2 from all other sections of the Constitution to build a case around it. Yeah. But we hold the view that, and the Supreme Court has said, you have to bring all of these sections. So if you look at Section 2 that talks about the states and the federal capital, then you look at, the Section 2 that talks about the recognition of, democratically elected local government is Section 7, with Section 2 that talk about states. And you bring it in conjunction with Section 5 of the Constitution that talks about the power of the president to not only promote the Constitution, but to enforce the Constitution, right? And then you bring in the fourth schedule, because all of the schedules of the Constitutions, they give the details of all of the provisions of the Constitution, either regarding institutions or individuals. If you bring all of them together, then the true meaning, the spirit behind it is that there are three systems of government: the federal government, the state government, and the local government, which is what the Supreme Court, in the case of Attorney General versus the states of the Federation, re-emphasized that no one is superior to the other, but all of them are co-equal. And the judgment of court, that is what I want to point out, the judgment of court is valid, subsisting, and has universal application throughout the Federation of Nigeria. So whatever opinion you hold is no longer relevant because the Supreme Court has decided. The only option available is that the National Assembly can amend the Constitution. But as far as interpreting this is concerned, that judgment of the Supreme Court is the interpretation and the law regarding the matter.
Okay. Otumba Debo in Abeokuta, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning,
Mr. Boala.
Good morning.
Formerly of PDP, now APC.
Forget about political party. Let's make an argument on law.
Look, my own concern is that of Afenifere. The Section 2 of the Constitution says to make the two tiers of government available, federal, state, and FCT. So the ideal thing is to have the two tiers and allow the state governors to create a number of local governments that it can cater for. That was what happened in the region the other day. And if you are talking of amending the constitution, which constitution? Out of 774 local governments, 2/3 of the local governments of 774 are in the north, to the detriment of the south of 1/3. So the National Assembly that is the northern that are dominated themselves in the National Assembly that are enjoying the 2/3 of the local government, 774 local government, will alter the constitution to the disadvantage of them. No, what we need is a new constitution, not this Abdul Salam constitution that entrenched all the 774 local government in the constitution so that it could not be amended because they have the majority in the National Assembly. So we need new constitution, people's constitution, not a military constitution.
Okay, Otumba Debo, thank you for calling in. Well, that's an opinion there, right there for you. Would you like to comment on it?
Right. So I would say that his opinion has been expressed by actually a lot of people. And then the way to go about it, I would suggest to him is because he must belong to a state in Nigeria. And the state where he comes from has 3 senators and 9 House of Rep members that are currently serving in the National Assembly. He should hold what they call a constituency meeting or a town hall and impress upon all of their lawmakers in the state that this is our point at the moment. Go to National Assembly and make the case for that. And if all of the states of the Federation make the same case, the National Assembly will be forced to start the process of a new constitution.
Oh, okay.
The commencement of a new constitution, there are dynamics around the commencement of a new constitution. For example, if you want to have a new constitution, there are schools of thought that believe that this National Assembly does not have the power to make it because it has to be a constitution that comes from a referendum of the generality of the people. And then there are those who argue that, well, this National Assembly can bring out a new constitution. But amendment of the constitution actually is part of democratic development. If you look at America, they have more than 28 amendments since the inception of the republic. This thing he's saying can be amended and imported into the constitution where they will expand the number of local government to go beyond 774 to now incorporate states where they have created additional local government and local government administration, like, for example, Lagos State. So it is part of what everything is doable, right, to bring about a balance within the federation. But it will have to be through a constitutional means, which means all of your representatives are the ones you will impress upon them. But you are talking from where you are. Your lawmakers are talking a different thing. So they say if you are walking and nobody is following you, you are simply taking a walk.
Indeed. Okay. Ibrahim, calling in from Adamawa, is on the line. Good morning to you, Ibrahim.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir.
Good morning,
Mr. Bwala.
You know, Uncle Yori, we have three forms of government. We have the federal, the state, and the local government. So we recently, yesterday, as we can see, we have election of local government election in Adamawa State.
Okay.
And PDP have won all the central local government, all the councillors. So I think it's like the financial autonomy is not enough. Local government elections should be held by INEC. If to say now I want to contest for a councillor, my ward, I will represent my ward. I know people that are in my ward. When they elect me in a different political party, I have like someone in AP, someone in PDP, someone in Africa, someone in Labour Party. My immediate ward will be easily represented at the local level. And the security, local government autonomy means security, means absolute security. Any security problem we have in this country is starting from the local government. No any security issues that arise from the state capital and grow. The banditry, the kidnapping, the Boko Haram issue all start in the local government. You can trace it. If people are well represented, this issue should not grow and become an international issue or national issue. It should not pass this local government. If they are holding a good election from the local government, if people are represented, if you say now they have kidnapped people in certain ward in Adamawa State. For your chairman, you have a councillor, you have a chairman. Your chairman will be able, is the chief security of this local government. He will be able to conduct his councillor. Where did this happen? Where is the location? But if the kidnapping issue arises, you wait for the state government to send people or from the state to come. The security will just be moving around the street. They will not enter the bush or do something to prevent such issues. My own view is that I pray that one day you have the local government elections will be held by INEC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for calling in from Adamawa there. Okay, Mr. Bwala.
Yeah, what the case is making is the current trending conversation at the moment, because in order to give effect to the economic autonomy, which is the financial autonomy of the local government, you have to also bring electoral autonomy, or rather political autonomy, to the local government. And the political autonomy is the way by which, the way and means by which people who will govern in the local government will emerge. Because one fact is clear, like I said in my opening remarks, that without INEC or some semblance of transparency in the electoral process for the local government, the same governor who appointed the council chairman can organize what they call the election at the state level, but then we have had people saying that it is simply a simulation where this person will then pass through. And then they will say, okay, you asked for election, we have done that. You said democratically elected, democratically he has emerged, but he will carry out his own. So I have suggested that the Attorney General can still approach the Supreme Court and make a case for certain provisions of the constitutions that guarantee transparency, bring in the judgment of the Supreme Court in order to give effect to the judgment, and ask for interpretation whether, given the circumstance, the national INEC cannot conduct local government election. And since the Supreme Court is not just a code of law, but code of policy, like they applied public policy in the judgment, in this case, they might consider again the need for them to bring in public policy and make a pronouncement that INEC, given the circumstance, should be the body recognized by law to conduct local government election. And if the court arrive at that, then that means, without having to wait for the constitutional amendment, that means INEC will henceforth be the body that will conduct the local government election. It is doable. And the reason I say it is doable is because nobody thought, when Attorney General approached the court, that the court was going to give a verdict separating the accounts of the state and the local government, which is considered as joint, to now say, put the money in a separate account to be called the local government account. If the Supreme Court will be bold to make public policy decisions like that, I believe that if the Attorney General approach the court, they will make a public policy decision that INEC, given the circumstance, should be the body recognized by law to conduct local government election, because that will be the true reflection of the letters, the spirit, and the intent of the lawmakers.
Indeed. Okay, tell you what, Mr. Daniel Bwala, we'll take a break now, but please stay with us. We'll be right back to continue this conversation and taking calls from home as well. Stay with us, please.
Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
1 year ago, a new government stepped into the spotlight and took the reins of our nation. The promises were grand, the challenges immense. Daria Media, with the support of the MacArthur Foundation and in partnership with TVC, present the first year, a comprehensive review of our government's progress, achievements, and the areas that need attention. We will hear directly from the government on the work it has done in the areas of the economy, security, and governance in the last 1 year, with the renewed hope agenda of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Witness the transparent assessments of the promises made. Watch and listen directly to government representatives as they engage with ordinary Nigerians. Join us live on TVC, NTA, Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, FRCN, and all our social media handles. Date is 17th and 18th of July at 11 a.m.
Welcome back. We're looking again at the subject matter of the Supreme Court granting local councils financial autonomy. Our guest is Dr. Daniel Bwala, who is a legal practitioner and policy analyst based in the UK. Thank you once again, Dr. Bwala, for coming on the program. Now, Ada in Jos has waited right through the break. Good morning to you, ma'am. Thank you for holding on.
Good morning. It's a welcome development.
Good morning.
I commend the Tinubu-led administration to be able to accomplish this circulating type of the local government autonomy, So I thank God that this has come to pass now. But let me tell you something. The local government, as much as it's the third tier of government, very close to the people, and then with this fiscal autonomy now, it should guarantee the development of each local government. But having said that, this fiscal autonomy doesn't guarantee that because of corruption. So if some of the chairmen now decide to see it as a nilocon, it's their time to chop, then we are in trouble. But let me sound a warning to them. They should know that the governors have immunity, which has translated to impunity for some of them. But the local government chairmen, they're not under any immunity. So the EFCC can go after them, even while they are in office. So let them hear that, Because the problem, even I heard people talking about conducting elections, whether it's a national INEC or whether it's a state or whatever INEC. That is not the problem of Nigeria. The problem of Nigeria, we have weak institutions. Why can't we address it from the root causes? If we have strong institutions, anybody can conduct that election as to be credible. So let us address that problem we have in Nigeria. And then I feel now that the attention should be on restructuring Nigeria. If you restructure Nigeria, all these states that say they have 100 local government, they will collapse some of them. Let it control what they have and pay tax to the center so we can stop this with the motor economy. All the time, let's not give up on Nigeria.
Well, thank you very much, Ada, for calling in. Again, yet another perspective on the matter. Dr. Bwala.
Right. The point she has made is very important, is germane. But I want to encourage her by telling her this, that Section 5 of the Constitution empowers the President of the Federal Republic because it says the executive powers of the Federation shall be vested in the President. And he will perform the functions and the duty of that office either by himself or through the Vice President or through the officers of the government of the Federation. Part of the officers of the government of the Federation are the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the ICPC, the NFIU, the Central Bank Governor, and all of the agencies of government that are within or under the executive branch of government. So by this development, the President has been directed in that judgment to ensure that the monies are sent to the local government and its administration. So the President, I'm sure, I made the suggestion, and I'm sure he's not sleeping, he would have by now directed the relevant agencies of government to put to bear a blueprint that will make for the workability of this judgment. This judgment cannot be a fruit that will fall on the ground. It must be a fruit that will fall for the good of the people at the local level. You need to know that the chairman of the local government is not covered by Section 308 of the Constitution. If the chairman decides to be so foolish to play along with the government, the state governors, at the detriment of their people, they can pick it up anytime. Secondly, all these agencies of government that have dealings with finances would have by now placed a watch on the local government account by the time it is established. And then there will be weekly report, daily report, or whatever it is, the report of the inflows and outflows of transactions into those accounts. And the law enforcement are there even at the local level. So it is not going to be a case of the chairman of the local government thinking, okay, this is an opportunity for me to chop. The reason why governors siphon public funds for a long time is because Section 308 covers them. So for the period of 4 years that they are there, they keep doing whatever they want. They cannot be picked up because they are covered by immunity. Local government chairman does not have that luxury. So from when your hand, you put it to the jar, you can be arrested and you can be dealt with at that time. And the minute you advise yourself that whatever the governor wants you to do in terms of mismanaging the funds of the local government, you need to know that you are not under Section 8. Let me give you a graphic example. If the money paid into the local government account is 1 billion naira, and you go and give the governor 700 million and keep 300, when EFCC call you to account, they are not going to ask you to account for 300. They are going to ask you to account for 1 billion. The governor would have eaten it, would have probably moved it somewhere, would have used it to buy the property. You are going to languish in hell until you produce the 1 billion. This has to be made clear to those ones who will make themselves willing tools in the hands of governors for the purposes of siphoning public trust. So I don't believe after the judgment, the president will just say they would have directed by now to put a plan in place to ensure that these monies are not siphoned or are not mismanaged. There will be proper governance at the local level. This I give you the guarantee. And this is one of the many proposals that the president has in putting this country on the right trajectory to economic recovery.
Indeed. Mr. Funsho in Minna, thank you for holding on. Go right ahead now, please.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, we really thank God for this Supreme Court judgment. Everybody's happy. Yeah, everybody's happy. Now, what we are saying now is, let the government let the state government allow the local government chairman to perform their duties, because with this development now, we are going to have economic development, sport development, health development, and social development, infrastructure development throughout the local government now, because the fund is going directly to them. They will be able to make use of it. Now that the election will be conducted by the state government, INEC, we hope they will do the right thing. But with the issue of our governor saying they are still going, it's not yet the Huru, but we know definitely the government will go back to the policies will go back to local now, because people at the local government will be able to select they nominate people to contest election for them instead of from the federal government or from the state government. Now, sports will develop, a lot of people develop, but we are hoping that everything will go the way we expect, because everybody is happy with the judgment now. We want things to go back to local government so that everybody in the local government can return, and then things will start working.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling in. Thank you very much for calling in, Funsho from Minna there. And indeed, most of the points you made, if you've been with us from the beginning, have already been commented upon and largely in agreement with those ideas that you are proposing. Okay, no, I don't have someone on the line. The other thing is, this judgment is sort of, this Supreme Court judgment is unambiguous, although you had spoken about maybe if they wanted to pursue it further, they could seek interpretation of some aspects of the Constitution in relation to enhancing this decision that has come down. But the point I wanted to make about that, in saying that the decision handed down is unambiguous, is a question that came up. No doubt you would have heard it yourself. Local government development areas that were created. There are those who have called in to say, okay, so what's going to happen to that? Because of the lack of ambiguity in it, all those just disappear now. The Constitution, the Constitution delineates 774 local government councils, and I imagine that's the way it shall be. Is that also your opinion?
Strictly from the point of view of law, the only local government that will access the funds will be local governments circumscribed by the Constitution as 774. So for states that created local government council or local government development areas, to me is a good thing. And I'm sure it will also give opportunity to other states who have expanded and have increased the horizon of their place, and economic activity is such that it can sustain itself, to also make those proposals. Now, in the same way, the procedure for the creation of states is required by the Constitution. The National Assembly can run through the same process and adopt these local government development areas that have been created by states of the Federation to be part of the local government administration or local government council of Nigeria. And once that amendment is done and adopted by the National Assembly following the procedures of law, then they become part of the local government. So I foresee a situation where there will be more local government that will be created arising from this decision. But I think it is needless for the state to go into this attempt to create local government because state A has created development areas, therefore we are going to create. Meanwhile, there are no economic activities in that area. There are no population and system of government that can sustain it. I don't think there are states that are struggling to pay salary and that are struggling to survive will have justiciability, or it will be justified of them to go ahead to create local government just because they want to access funds. You have to first deal with the ones that you have, whether you can administer. But there are states that are viable enough, and the population has increased. Economic activity-based states, those ones will have a good case to make in the constitutional amendment that will incorporate those development areas to be part of the local government administration or council of Nigeria.
Okay. Professor Edmund in Enugu would like to join the conversation. Good morning to you, Prof.
Okay. Are you with me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Do I go ahead?
Please.
Do I go ahead?
Please do.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Yori. And thanks to that young articulate barrister there.
Daniel Bwala.
I've been carefully listening to the comments of the barrister and also the comments of, the comments of the scholars and the comments of or responses of Bwala. Let me start by saying that our problem is fundamental. The problem we have in this country is our constitution. Our constitution is too ambiguous. And this ambiguity is causing these various interpretations from both the lawyers, non-lawyers, judges, and non-judges concerning the judgment of granting, in parentheses, autonomy to local government. At the same time, granted that the Supreme Court has given that autonomy, Nigerians are still calling for INEC to conduct the election for local government. What type of federation are we operating? At times I wonder, what type of federation are we operating when everything will be centralized? And in many countries of democracies of the world today, they're talking about decentralization as a tool for social economic development. And we are here talking about INEC, when some are clamoring for unbundling of INEC, and we want to add more problem to existing INEC. So my take is that autonomy is okay for local government. However, states should be allowed to create local government. Federal government has no business creating local government. It is, I believe, if our constitution is tinkered with, it is responsibility of the states to create local governments and not the central government. The state, he who wears the shoes, knows where it pinches. All the federal government in Abuja will know what is happening in my local government. So states should be created, governors or states should be allowed. State assemblies should be allowed to create local government as they deemed necessary or fit, instead of federal government interfering. And that is fundamental issue I raised about our constitution. So our constitution requires a lot of thinking in order to make it to be less ambiguous.
All right then, Professor Edmund in Enugu, thank you very much. Daniel.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yes, I've heard the argument of the professor. It's a valid argument. However, this will be my reaction to that. One, he said that the federal government has no business with how states create their local government. No, federal government has every business with the local government created by state, because when the local governments are created, federal government will be demanded to provide the money to run the local government. And no state create local government within the limit of what they earn. So, for example, if UB is getting 20 billion and they go ahead and create local government, they will come to the center and demand for more money because they have additional local government to be able to run. No state will create that and say, okay, we'll manage what we have. So federal government has a business in that, because the minute you approach the federal government for increased funding to take care of that, the federal government will be forced to look at the limited resources and how those resources are to be administered for the good of Nigeria. Two, every National Assembly member, House of Rep or Senator, is a senator from their constituency or senator of the Republic. The jurisdiction of that senator is not limited to the district where he comes from. He makes law for good peace, order, and good government throughout the Federation of Nigeria. There is nothing that stops a senator from state A to make a law that will benefit state B. Therefore, the brand of the federalism that we are running in Nigeria is one that, unless there is the overhaul of the constitution to make additional provision for those within the limit of what we already have, the federal government would naturally have business in all of the activities that goes on. If you look at the exclusive jurisdiction of the federal government in Section 251, matters for which the National Assembly has power to legislate, they affect some of those areas. Yeah, so if they are legislating on minting and printing, they are legislating on defense, they are legislating on matters that will determine the territorial integrity of that local government, federal government will have a business, and that means the National Assembly members will have a say in how that is done. I think that's the reason why a lot of people are asking for a whole new constitution. But let me tell you this, Mr. Yori, and in just 1 minute regarding this. If you look at countries like the United States, their constitution is not as voluminous as our constitution. It is not adding many laws. It is doing justice to the one you already have. The England, the United Kingdom, their own is even the world. Their constitution is like a pamphlet. And yet they have good system of government. So the point, and where there is a confusion as regarding the interpretation of the constitution, that's why the court exists. If you look at Section 6, the judicial branch of the Federation, they interpret laws. So where there is no clarity, the judiciary is there to do that. But I want everybody to know that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has in his hands, I believe, this carrying capacity for a restructuring that will bring government and will make equitable government throughout the Federation. It's just 1 year. We are seeing the local government autonomy, which is a breakthrough already. By the time he's completing the first term, there are many more areas of innovation and creativity that will bring about true federalism and true government to the Federation of Nigeria.
Okay. Mr. George in Ikeja, thank you for calling in. You're our last caller. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Uncle Yori.
Good morning.
Good morning to Dr. Bwala.
Yeah.
Uncle Yori, this local government autonomy is already part of the restructuring that people have been calling for. It's part of the restructuring. The issue we should be talking about now, in my view, is about how the local government can function well, practically, under this pressure from the governor. The professor talked about elections. Perhaps he has not studied the situation well in the local government. An election has just taken place last Saturday in Adamawa. The ruling party won all the 21 local governments. That was the state during the governorship election, Uncle Yori. The PDP won majority of the local government. They didn't win all. APC won, I remember they won 11 local governments. But when local government election comes, the ruling party in virtually all the states will win all the local governments. What does that tell you? There is no fairness in local government elections because it is held under the whims and caprices of the governor, of the state governor. If the autonomy given to local government is to be useful or to be anything good, the elections of officials to the local government must be supervised by a credible body, and the officials elected should be under a credible election. That is the only way.
Okay. I beg your pardon, Mr. George. Thank you very much. We've almost run out of time. I wanted to leave some for Dr. Bwala to be able to respond to it. What you are saying is in line, I believe, with the thoughts of Ibrahim, who called in from Adamawa earlier on in the program. Dr. Bwala.
Yeah, but all of the contributions of these individuals are welcome, and they are the reflection of how the Nigerian people are thinking. And to me, it's an excitement because it shows that the people of Nigeria are also interested in how they want their government to be run. I have a good news to all of them, with all of the ideas, that the administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu will, to a large extent, attempt to do most of that. And we have seen that because a lot of people thought that local government autonomy will be suicidal. So they said it now, that if you do that, the governors are going to be up against the president, which means the president will not get second term. He's not thinking about that. He's thinking about good governance. And the way God works, now the entire majority of the local government in Nigeria are excited about this development and thanking him. The local government, are they not grassroots? So he has rather improved and increased his popularity by doing the right thing than for political exigency, you take a step that will continue to keep Nigeria in a state of comatose. We are making the right progress. Let's continue to receive the input from the Nigerian people. But I'm telling you that the local government administration will bring about development. Very soon we will have INEC supervise the elections in Nigeria, like the way the last observer said. In all the states' local government elections, the party in power will get everything, will sweep everything. That tells you it is simulation, it's not election. But the one conducted by INEC, as weak as we complain about INEC, we have seen governors lose their seat. We have seen governors, anointed people losing. In this election, we saw President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who comes from Lagos, lost Lagos to Labour Party. As bad as we call INEC is. Now, if these elections of Lagos presidential is to be conducted by state, you can be sure 100% of the vote will come to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So let us have confidence in INEC and continue to make the case to improve INEC. You know, even if it means the unbundling that would keep INEC as an entity, but will decentralize the workings of INEC so that it will be federal INEC, but in states supervising elections of state, pending on when this democracy will be strong enough for state INEC or state electoral commission to be able to conduct that. Otherwise, it will still be like you're going around the same cycle and not achieving what you need to achieve.
You know what? We're going to have to leave it here, Dr. Daniel Bwala. I really do appreciate you making time for us, and indeed, it's been intellectually stimulating, you know, some of the thoughts that we've been getting from you. And of course, as you said, Nigerians are very, very conscious about the matter, as has been illustrated by the contributions. Okay, so once again, thank you very much for coming on the program this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And indeed. So that's Dr. Daniel Bwala, policy analyst and lawyer, member of the Lincoln's Inn in the United Kingdom. And that brings us to the end of the program. Do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.